Now, because we're talking about a Wes Anderson movie, is that centered? The Grand Budapest Hotel is written and directed by Wes Anderson. It's apparently based on the writings of this Austrian author from the 30s, the 20s named Stefan Zweig. I don't know how to speak German, Austrian, so I don't know, pronouncing it right. And this movie has such a big cast, like it's a cast so big you could probably make phallic jokes about it. But, your two main players here are Ray Fiennes, who plays Monsieur Gustave, who is the concierge at the Grand Budapest Hotel, and you have this young guy named Tony Revolori, I think his name is, who is pretty much his right hand man. He's the lobby boy. And in the Grand Budapest Hotel, this wealthy old woman who was a guest and sort of like lover of Monsieur Gustave passes away, and she in her will passes on this really extravagant painting to Monsieur Gustave, and this really angers like the rest of her family who kind of don't want him in the picture. So they're going after him while Monsieur Gustave, and his lobby boy Zero have to kind of figure out how to prove his innocence while at the same time hiding the painting from the hands of the family members. Now, I have a lot of friends who are really into Wes Anderson, so it might maybe anger some people, like when I say that this is my first Wes Anderson movie. I have a copy of Moonrise Kingdom and I've had it forever. I keep forgetting to watch it. I am, however, familiar with this guy's work, and I've seen parts of his other movies, and it definitely is very unique. Now, uniqueness to me isn't always equal to quality. You can have a really, really unique movie that no one's ever done before, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's good. However, that is not the case for the Grand Budapest Hotel because it just might be the best film I've seen all year, honestly. The one thing I notice with Wes Anderson's movies is that there is like no CGI. When you have fancy things going on here, it's almost always practical, sets and stuff, and I love that. Like here in the Grand Budapest Hotel, you have some external shots of like the hotel and like a tram going up, a diagonal slope. Well, obviously, you could do this in, using CGI, but I like how he uses like it's almost like 2D storybook pop-up kind of thing, and I really like that because whereas if you use CGI, it obviously does come off as fake, but here it comes off, it's not real, but at the same time it's very charming. And of course, Wes Anderson is the kind of director who obviously pays a lot of attention to production design and stuff, and like the costume design and makeup here, it's all very meticulously crafted. It's almost as if all these characters and all these settings are in one big painting together. Like I don't know how else to put it, but it just feels like that. But this movie is called the Grand Budapest Hotel, and I think like the main star of this movie really is the hotel itself because these sets are incredible. Like, I mean, not just the hotel because you get quite a bit, a few different environments here, but the hotel itself looks absolutely stunning, and I think that they really did build a large portion of this. And I love that about this movie. Like, it really makes you want to watch this again just to see all the little details in the background because every single shot has so much thought put into it. You have like just paintings on the wall, and like at a certain point, you just start staring at like the rust on like a pipe or something. I actually found myself kind of distracted from the dialogue and the plot at certain points, but that's not a bad thing because I was just in awe of like the production design. Like, it just looked so great. But the great thing about the hotel itself, the Grand Budapest Hotel, is that it feels like it has depth. It doesn't feel like they shot on a soundstage. It really does feel like there are corridors and there are different floors and stuff. And this hotel really ends up having personality by the end. It's very bright. It's kind of aged, but at the same time, it has a life within. And if you just watch the trailer to this movie, it goes without saying that this movie is extreme, just visual eye candy the entire time. Colors are extremely vivid. You're given, lots of attention to detail for like the smallest things. And this movie does a thing where it shifts aspect ratio to I think like 4:3 is what it's called. It's just pretty much kind of like a square. And this most of the movie takes place with this aspect ratio and really really works. It really kind of lends itself to Wes Anderson's kind of obsession with framing things perfectly. But it's not just framing and colors also, like there's lots of cool stuff with lighting and just the way the camera like swivels really quickly. It's all of it is just so good. This is like a dream job for like a cinematographer or a production designer. It's great. And the editors also. This is the pacing this movie is just lightning fast, really. Again, there's a lot of attention given to details and objects, and not just characters. In fact, the objects and the details are treated as if they're also characters. At first, I was thinking about the framing device they use because the framing device in this movie is kind of like a story within a story within a story within a story. And at first, I was thinking that's not necessarily, necessary. But at a certain point, I realized that hey, like I like what they're doing when they zoom in, then they zoom out again. It just kind of makes you feel like this story has affected like generations. But really, this movie is like an hour 40 minutes. That's 100 minutes, and I felt like I was in the theater for like 30 minutes. Really, it just flies by so quickly. But it's not all visual also. This movie actually does sound very good. Like the sound mixing is really good, and the score like is indescribable for me because it's so unique and so quirky. But at the same time, it really keeps you in the mood of it. Now I know some people might complain that there are a bit too many characters here, and like none of them really are given like that much depth. However, I like how the characters kind of fly in and fly out again. Like for me, they really do just contribute to again the big picture, the big painting. I do, however, think that Zero, the lobby boy, and Gustav, played by Ray Fiennes, I think their characters are in fact very well developed because they have relationships with each other, and you can kind of tell that how they're reacting in certain situations makes sense and it's in line with their characters. But this movie really is all about the dialogue also. The dialogue here is like really, really fast again, it's very witty, and it almost feels very literary. Now I had no idea what I mean by saying literary. I don't think anyone knows what they mean when they say literary. But it's just so I'm not sure how to describe it really. It's not really unconventional per se, but it's just so rich, Like Wes Anderson could just say a certain line in a simple way, get it done the easy way, but he really strives to give each line like personality and make it fit within the big picture. And of course, all the actors also add to the final picture. There are tons of cameos in this movie. I don't think I caught all of them, but it's great to see all these familiar faces, but they're not distracting. However, in my opinion, Ray Fiennes really does steal the show. I love Ray Fiennes. I've always loved him, and what I love is that no matter who he's playing, he manages to bring in like such a dignity and nobility to these characters. And with Gustav, it's the same thing. It's just like his delivery is just so fast. He's so funny and in like a really really dry way. But I do think the young guy, Tony Revolori, also does hold his own very well because whereas he could just be kind of like the kid in the movie, like he does have his own kind of dignity and he has really good chemistry with Ray Fiennes also. Now, in terms of directing style of Wes Anderson, I know it might throw some people off because it's completely unconventional. You don't get any normal shots in this movie. But what I like so much about it is that he does, in fact, pay equal attention to all these aspects. You have a big focus on characters, you have a big focus on plot, also you have a big focus on just production design, and I like that. You can tell he's a very collaborative director because while this is the first movie of his that I've seen in its entirety, you can tell from watching like just snippets from his other movies that they all have a very distinct look to them and that he works very closely with his production designers, with his editors, but at the same time the whole thing makes it feel like he's so independent, like it never feels like he's working for a studio. It really just feels like he's working on movies for fun. And that fun really does just shine through. Like I love almost everything about this movie. Like my only complaint is that in terms of plot, I'm not sure if there's too much plot or too little plot, because at a certain point I realized that I wasn't really sure what was happening anymore, and part of me was bothered by that, really bothered, but another part of me was kind of just enjoying the ride, like I'm not sure if this movie really wants you to think about the plot so much, because it really is just about the look of it and the feel, the tone, and just the dialogue and stuff. So I'm not sure if that's gonna stay a negative like in the future, but as of now, I will count it as a negative because I did kind of want to care more about this plot, and in the end, not everything is answered really. But in the end, The Grand Budapest Hotel is an awesome, awesome movie. It's definitely not for everyone though. However, if you can kind of ride with Wes Anderson's style, like if you're already a fan of his, then you will love this movie. I'm not sure if other Wes Anderson movies are like this one, but if they are, I'm definitely open to checking them out, but we'll see. So that's my review of the Grand Budapest Hotel. Have you guys seen it? What did you think of it? Whether you loved it or hated it? Whatever you think, please leave me a comment and let's have a conversation.